everybody, and welcome back to Michigan Living. Obviously, it's Jeff here, and let's talk about renters now facing bidding wars. So it looks like there's home buyers, renters now are facing bidding wars. All right, licensed practical nurse couldn't afford a $400 hike in her rent, so she started hunting for a new place. She wanted to rent a 3-bedroom house for herself and 2 children and could pay up to $1,400 a month. She had always paid rent on time, and her landlord wrote her a recommendation letter. But as she searched in Philadelphia and Delaware County, Pennsylvania, she received denial after denial, said Laura Israel, a realtor at Philadelphia-based eXp Realty who was helping her. Within 2 weeks, I'd shown my client 44 houses and applied to 30-something. Israel said, and that's not an exaggeration. That's a lot. I mean, I know there's a lot of people don't realize and stuff like that, but that's a lot. All right? I mean, I've had one client in particular. It took me literally like 2 years for her to find a place that, she was like, just madly in love with. Wow, 44 houses. And that's in a short period of time, not years. Her client lost out to people who applied ahead of her and to others willing to pay more than the advertised rent. For one property listed at $1,200 a month, the landlord went with somebody who offered them $1,700 a month. Wow. Remember, that's exactly what can really go down, and is probably going to go down pretty quickly, especially for renters that need a place to live. I literally broke down and cried with my client, Israel said. In the recent competitive market, home buyers have often found themselves in bidding wars for limited supply. But demand for rentals is strong too, and prospective tenants are now battling, especially those searching at the lower end of the market. Usually. A Facebook post Israel wrote in frustration about her client's situation has been shared by more than 16,500 people. And rental property owners reached out to help. One told Israel she was heartbroken over the post and offered a house in Roxborough, a neighborhood in the northwest section of Philadelphia. She had planned to rent it in an Airbnb. Israel's client signed a lease for $1,450. Israel has seen rental bidding wars at small-scale properties since the pandemic started. We haven't had to worry about that so much yet, but we may get there. It was nothing I had ever seen before, she said, and was crazy. It's gotten worse. Although rental bidding doesn't appear to be a widespread issue, in the last year, about a dozen of Israel's clients have been asked to bid for rentals. Unfortunately, and some of that is that's what you're going to get and some of that when you're going to be in a major city. We haven't had that here so much in Michigan, but if you really love a place, you can always be able to offer them a bit more, and then they probably will take yours over somebody who wants to pay $1,400 and you're willing to pay $1,500-$1,600 a month. Well. That's up to the person who owns the house, doesn't it? Almost impossible to move. Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com, said she was surprised when she started hearing last fall about bidding for rentals. But in Philadelphia and nationwide, the low supply of available rentals sets the scene for desperate acts. The rental vacancy rate in the Philadelphia metropolitan area for the first quarter of this year was 4.2%, according to Realtor.com. That's down from 6.3% at the same time this year. Yeah, no kidding. In a market that's competitive, people are looking for any way they can to stand out and increase their chances of being the one to get the rental. Just like we're seeing in the for sale market. This is coming. As rents continue to rise, struggling tenants who generally have to put down a couple months' rent at once already are stretching their budgets looking for homes. They don't have the money to offer higher monthly payments, if they can even find a place. Yes, that's exactly correct. That is why I always recommend, especially right now, is that while the interest rates are still decent, and the interest rates are still decent, too many people have gotten used to the idea that, interest rates should be about 2, 3, 4%. No, not normally. Interest rates and some of it usually are quite a bit higher than that, like in the 8s, 9s. Not this low. We couldn't sustain it. It's just not possible. But that's why I say we need to be able to get you guys in a place, find good lenders. I have a bunch of lenders that are really good. That can try and be able to help out in order to be able to, to get you the best possible rates for the most money, and so we can be able to find you a good place to live. All right, because that's what matters. Some are paying for stays at Airbnbs. Wow. Renters who can't find homes are taking rooms, sometimes in illegal rooming houses, said Richard Garland, managing attorney for the housing unit at Community Legal Services of Philadelphia. Or they're squeezing in with family, living in cars, and turning to emergency shelters. Some are paying for stays at Airbnbs and hotels, which is more expensive than renting, usually by a lot. It's almost impossible for our clients to move right now, says Garland. The rental environment worsened during the pandemic, she said. We've never seen it to be this hard. The usual 60 to 90 days notice to move, of a move, yeah, we don't have that. We have 30. Is not a realistic time frame for tenants to move anymore. Tenants with housing subsidies have an even harder time finding units in their price range. Renters with disabilities who need accessible units face an extra challenge too. Some clients at Community Legal Services have searched for 6 months. I know here where I have helped other realtors who've had clients with disabilities. Well, no, actually, I had a client who had a disability as well. And we were able to get her into a co-op in the first try. It was great. It was fantastic. And she was able to move because she had a house. We sold her house, and then we were able to then, take that equity. We were able to move her into a co-op that actually has a bunch of, it's a much better situation for her. And especially for her situation and stuff, and then this way, and so that she was able to move into there and everything was good, and she's ecstatic. She was worried about it at first, but yeah, now that she's actually been there and she's got a few things done to the place, she's very happy where she is. And she didn't have to move, she didn't have to worry about anything for a very long time. And that's great. A very scary market. High home sale prices are keeping some renters from becoming homeowners. College graduates temporarily living with parents and tenants who put off moving earlier in the pandemic are resuming their plans. More renters are being evicted and looking for new places to live. More people are living alone. And some small-scale rental property owners, especially those who have struggled during the pandemic, are choosing to leave the business and list their rentals for sale in the current strong seller's market. Yeah, I have had quite a few investors that they told me sell it because the whole point is for investors is to buy low or with really good terms. That's gonna be the next one, but that's not for this particular video. And then there's capitalizing on the money, and then there's getting something later, or just getting out entirely. Because there's being a landlord is not necessarily stress free, if you know what I mean. All you landlords know exactly what I mean. And some small-scale rental property owners, especially those who have struggled during the pandemic, are choosing to leave the business and list their rentals for sale. The rental market is very scary, and particularly scary for people who have market rate housing at the lower end of the spectrum. Executive Director of the Homelessness Prevention and Services nonprofit Family Promise of Philadelphia, formerly known as whatever. Nationwide, the median rent reached $1,827 a month. $1,800 is the median average. That's up from April 2020 at almost a 17% increase in a year. Well, from 2020 to 2021, which means that it's gone up again, because this is from they don't even have it yet from April 21 to April 22. Oh, I can guarantee you it's gone up again. So that 18 is probably now closer to probably 2,000. 2,000 out for renting. That's why I say you should just contact me, contact a good realtor, and see what you can do in order to be able to get a place that you don't have to worry about the rent and everything else of that skyrocketing and going out of control in a very short period of time. People just don't realize. They just don't realize what's coming. Let's see now. Yep, in its track to pass $2,000 a month by August. Yeah, so they even have that in there and stuff like that. Yeah. So they're even anticipating that it'll be over $2,000 by this August. A month. You can own for cheaper than that. And it will stay that way. April marked the 14th straight month of record high median rents. In the Philadelphia metro, median rent is $1,700, almost $1,800, up almost 8% from last year. As inflation drives up prices for everything, roughly 2/3 of tenants say the biggest strain on their budget is rising rent, according to Realtor.com survey of more than 2,400 renters and landlords released this month. In addition to charging more simply because people will pay, landlords are also responding to the pressures of higher operating costs. Almost 3/4 of rental property owners surveyed plan to raise rents within the next year for at least one property. Yeah, at least one property. Exactly. The only reason why of course, they won't be doing every single one is probably because a bunch of them are under contract and they've already stated and so that, and it goes by year. So if you have a bunch of like 4 properties, let's just simply say it's the average, and one of them generally you're always going to be having, and since you generally only do it by a year, so then if one is up right now because you might have already rented a few already. So if you only have 1, maybe 2 that's coming up this year, you increase it because you already have a couple already under contract for another year. So your SOL until next year. But then you're going to increase those as well. So you're just going to constantly be increasing it from now on, and you can do it. Because everyone, especially by next year when interest rates are really a lot higher, yeah, there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be stuck trying to rent and they can't rent because they can't afford to be able to rent. It's just going to be crazy. That's why I always think of the future. I have to. I got to do that for my clients. I have to think about my clients. I have to be able to think about my clients and what is in their best interest, give them options. I'm the give them options guy. And then see what they want to be able to do. And usually in some of that, we can always come up with, with lifelong stuff and figure out what they want to be able to do and what's in their best interest. One woman who was formerly homeless moved her family out of their apartment for 4 years instead of renewing her lease because of mold and maintenance issues. She figured they'd live in a hotel for a week or two while she found another place. It's been a couple of months. The woman ran out of money. The nonprofit has the family in a temporary month-to-month rental. Those are expensive. You're going month to month. Obviously, you're going to be paying a lot more because it's month to month. Offering to pay more, June 2020 was the first time Israel of eXp Realty experienced a rental bidding war. After her aunt applied for a townhouse in Sicklerville, New Jersey, the listing agent said a lot of people wanted it and some had offered more than the asking price for rentals. And I was like, what? On a rental? No way, Israel said. Her aunt offered $200 more per month, but someone had already topped that. A few weeks ago, Israel's brother found a house in Delaware County with advertised rent for about $1,400. After he applied, Israel said, the property manager said somebody offered up to $1,875 a month. So could he beat that? He kept looking. The question is familiar to Paula Wall, who looked at apartments throughout the region earlier in the pandemic. A property owner who listed a 2-bedroom unit for about $1,400 a month told her a couple was willing to pay more. Wall offered an additional $50 a month, but the owner chose a tenant who could pay $100 more a month. That happened a few times. It doesn't make sense. It's not like a house that you're buying, she said. Don't get me there and say someone else is bidding higher than you. She got discouraged by the rental market and has decided to try to purchase her first home. Your agent should have been telling you what's going on and so that, and talk to you straight about it. And it's good that you're finally starting to be able to figure out that that's exactly what you really need to do, especially with what's going to be happening. Absolutely. Wall, 62, who has adult children, has been living with family in a Maple Shade, New Jersey apartment while she continues to improve her credit and works with a financial advisor. Okay, improving your credit is great. If you have at least 580 credit, all right, I know some fantastic lenders that can work with you and see about what they could do for you and or what you need to do in order to be able to get a loan. Yeah, even you. All right. So it's very important. So I know that I'll probably be trying to be able to get some of them on the show in order to be able to talk and just tell everybody what is going on. But there's, certain legal stuffs and going on and, brokers and blah, blah, blah. So, it needs to be negotiated about what they can and cannot do. All right. But, especially if I could be able to get some of them in there, especially if I can get one or two of them to be able to come on regularly, and then you guys could even ask them questions about what, people can be able to do. All right. Especially for you. All right. But I always recommend contact me. I will be happy to be able to give the names and numbers of some really great lenders. And it doesn't cost you anything to be able to call and ask and find out what you can do. It doesn't cost you anything. So, and trust me, I've had a few clients and, they're rather surprised, like, wow, I didn't think I could actually get a mortgage. I was like, there you go. And then, of course, went on over and bought them a house. And then they moved in. Then all of a sudden they were, as the one said, oh, I feel like an adult now. All right. She was funny. But a lot of times, whatever is that is the big difference between renting and owning. You own the place; it's yours. I had a client. She was renting, all right, for a lot of money. She was renting a 4-bedroom house. Okay, and I'm not saying that it was a really nice house. All right, or in a really great neighborhood, if you know what I mean. Okay, it was one of those. But even then, so for that, she was being charged $1,200 a month. This was years ago for that 4-bedroom place, and and what she was doing was that she was renting out the other 3 rooms. The landlord knew. All right, he had no problems with it. All right, so she rented out the other 3 rooms, but he made her kind of like the manager. All right, so she would have to pay the $1,200, plus the extra stuff for the utilities or whatever. But yeah, it was, he was getting a lot out of this. All right, and then she finally got with me, and we talked a lot about, okay, well, what's your what do you want? What do you want your future to be? And we talked about a bunch of stuff. This is what I do. We made a game plan as for what she wanted her life to be. She was sick and tired of renting, and because originally she moved in there like a year or 2 before, because I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how it was at the time, and she was only paying $1,000 a month. All right, and remember, this is not even in a good neighborhood. So, and then of course, like I think it was like 6 months or whatever it was before, when I started talking to her, he just said, all right, okay, that's going to be $1,200 a month now. They weren't even under contracts, no nothing. He was like, well, if you don't like it, get out. So I gave her name and number of a really good lender, a couple of them, of course. She chose one and stuff like that, and yeah, she was surprised she could actually be able to get a house. I mean a condo, and of course that really did fit her lifestyle better. But yeah, and we went looking around. Now there's there's a lot of condo even associations that are out there. But eventually, so it only took a couple months, and then we found her a really, really, really nice condo, in a pretty good neighborhood. It even has a pool and everything, Already some people here that are watching that I know, and so I also know her, and they're going to go, oh, that's... I was like, yes, it is. I know, because I also sold another client in the same condo complex. It's not that bad of a complex. It really isn't. So, like I said, you just simply have to be able to know your locations. You have to be able to know how nice certain areas are, and also talk to your clients and know what do they want. Because I'm only interested in advancing my clients in order to be able to, so that they can live comfortably, so they can be able to have nice low payments, so they can be able to basically, gain some wealth, right? There's no reason for them not to be able to make money on this, all right? Especially instead of given the right game plans, etc. But I know, I'm going off I'm just going off of memories and just different things, and So, anyways. Jersey Apartments continues to improve her credit and works with a financial advisor. She also has 2 daughters, ages 5 and 6. At 62, she adopted a few years ago. She wants a yard they can play in and a property she can leave to them. Okay. I gave myself a year to have me a home. You can be amazed at what you can be able to do, and so with a good lender, in a year, and just as long as you actually do what they tell you to do. It's not that hard in a year to be able to make it so that you can actually be able to buy a home. It's not that hard for most people. It really isn't. It just takes dedication to do it, persistence and dedication. Seriously. So next year I want to be in my home. Rental market outlook. The Philadelphia-based tenant union representative network, blah, blah, blah. The sad reality is that rents are increasing as neighborhoods gentrify and the cost of living goes up, Lauren said. I think the situation is going to get worse, not better. No kidding. Like I said, a lot of 30-somethings that are starting to be able to go out normally, that are renting, normally go out in order to be able to buy a house, are now stuck renting. And more 18-year-olds every year are coming into play. But yet the 30-year-olds aren't moving. So then what happens? All right. Hale at Realtor.com said she expects rent growth, at least as slow as it's been doing slightly throughout the year. We're moving in the right direction, but not very quickly. There's some light ahead, but it's still going to be a challenging market. No kidding. So this is just simply re-emphasizing exactly what's going on. Just so long as you have the right people helping you, you can be able to get a game plan and you can be able to find a place to live. You can be able to get some place that you can call your own. All right? But you need to be able to let us know. You need to be able to reach out in order to be able to contact us. All right? It doesn't matter where you are in the country. All right? There are great realtors and great lenders that are out there. Okay? It's just that you have to be able to find them. Okay? Not everybody in Savannah is like me. Okay? Not everybody cares. That's why even for me and stuff like that, even the lenders that I work with and stuff like that care about their clients. Because we want them to be able to close. We want them to be able to get a place. You'd be surprised that, there's always stories. But, all right, like and share below. If you have any questions, whatever, please let me know. Other than that, I certainly hope that you guys have a great day. You take care.